So, Michael, to start off this week's recording, I have a bone to pick.
A bone to pick?
Yeah, a bone to pick, because I saw something which really pissed me off so much. Maybe not so much.
Was it a bone?
No, it really annoyed me. I want you now, for you to just go...
Just ignore you?
Yeah, just ignore what I'm saying. No.
Yeah, okay, I found it.
What's the tweet titled?
It's called This Year's Oscar Nominee Theme, White Male Rage.
Yes, I want you to now watch this video, and we shall cut this part out.
I've watched it, Luke.
And Michael, could you describe what that video was?
It was Melissa, I don't know how to say her name,
Villaseñor.
Doing a Villaseñor, oh yeah, of course, doing a summary of Joker, where towards the end she explained that it was really about white male rage, which she sang that phrase, white male rage,
and then what happened
over
after
and over
that?
again. And then later on, they had a bit of a kind of back and forth where they explained what had just happened, and then she transitioned to talking about The Irishman, the film by Martin Scorsese. And she did the same thing where she just spoke about what was in the film on a very superficial level and then transitioned to saying white male rage, singing white male rage repeatedly.
So do you think her characterising the Joker and The Irishman as white male rage as the driving force of the movie is accurate? Or have you seen either of those two movies, firstly?
I've seen The Irishman. I haven't seen Joker, actually.
Okay.
I would say for The Irishman, no. The Irishman just feels like any other Martin Scorsese film,
Okay,
like
yeah. So
Goodfellas.
Here's the thing. I've seen both. And obviously, before the Joker, what was just called Joker, got released, there was a lot of people saying it was the incel movie and all of that, and it's about white males and they're never happy. And then you watch the film and it's about mental illness predominantly. That's what turns the Joker into what he is, not because he's angry with society, and all of that shit. And what happens in the movie to make it doubly ironic is the guy who eventually turns him into the Joker is a fucking late night TV host who's making fun of him. Which is just great. So I disagree with Melissa Villaseñor on the characterization.
Yeah, because she's a woman.
Yeah, exactly. Of Joker as white male rage. It's just, if you haven't seen the movie, just hasn't seen the movie. But then the real one, which really annoyed me, was The Irishman. How the fuck can you watch that movie and think it's about white male rage? What? How does that even come into your head? Like, I'll be watching the same movie here because, well, the thing is, you could say the same about Joker, but The Irishman, it's about fucking mobsters. Do you think the mob was fueled by toxic masculinity?
Oh yeah.
I mean,
yes. To be fair, they did have the St. Valentine's Day massacre. That's pretty incel.
Yeah, exactly. Obviously, yes, they are. They are masculine and they are toxically masculine, obviously. But you think the Irishman is about white male rage? Jesus, some people's brains are just so fixated on identity politics. It just blows my mind. I was like, here's why it also annoyed me, because I do like Melissa Villaseñor. I actually followed her on Twitter before this, obviously, and because I was like, I like her impressions. I think she's really funny with the impressions that she does, basically, and I think that's where Saturday Night Live, clips I see, that's where it's funny, the impressions, and she does the best, so I like her. And then she comes out with this, which means her brain is just poisoned just as much as the rest of them. I'm just incredibly disappointed with that.
One day, though, Luke, you'll get your revenge. You'll show them all.
Yes, that's the ironic thing. That has made me a white male rage, that video.
Yeah.
So what does that tell you about society?
It tells you we live in one. Hello and welcome to Select and Reflect, the movie review podcast where we look at films that have come out in the near and distant past. We give them a couple of watches and evaluate them beyond first impressions. I am your host Michael, and I'm joined as always by my co-host Luke, where this week we are celebrating our Oscar extravaganza, where we look at the winners in various categories from last year. And this week we are looking at The Favourite, which was nominated for many things, but the main reason we're looking at it is because Olivia Colman won for her performance as Queen Anne, the Best Actress in a Leading Role. So, Luke, why don't you tell us a thing or two about The Favourite?
Sure thing, Michael. As you say, we are looking at The Favourite because of Olivia Colman's win. And also was nominated for Best Picture as well. Yes. So, yeah, that's another reason. And obviously, we're going through all the Best Picture nominees this time around. So, anyway, The Favourite is a 2018 period black comedy film that was directed by Yorgos Lanthimos and written by Deborah Davis and Tony McNamara. It stars, as you mentioned, Olivia Colman, who of course won Best Actress at the Academy Awards. Also nominated were Emma Stone and Rachel Weisz as well for the Best Supporting Actress. Neither of them won. It was released on... I don't know. Neither of them won like it was a shot. It was just, to separate what they did from Olivia Colman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What failures.
Yeah, exactly. It was released on November the 23rd, 2018 in the United States and on New Year's Day in the UK last year. And Michael, can you tell me what the budget was for The Favourite?
40 million.
You know what? What did you say, 14?
I said 40.
Oh,
Okay.
Oh, my days. Yeah, I was about to say, well, that's an excellent guess, so I'm glad I asked for clarification.
Yeah, I wish you hadn't asked for clarification.
Yeah, because it's 15 million.
Okay. That's disappointing.
What about the box office? How much did it make?
90 million.
90?
I don't think it made that much. Yeah, I think it made 90.
You know what?
No, that's probably too much.
No,
I'm going to go for it. Okay.
That's a good
million.
guess. 95.9 million.
Yay.
Yeah, well done.
Well done, me.
Good guess. So,
I'm smart.
Yes, you are indeed. So, Michael, did you like The Favourite?
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. Did you like it?
Yeah, I think that's the exact same reaction that I'd give if you hadn't already just given that reaction. It was pretty good. Yeah. Solid.
Yeah. It was a pretty dandy film, but no matter how dandy we thought a film was, we always have nitpicks. So, Luke, how many nitpicks do you have?
I have 0.
I should really have 0. I have 1, and it's a very minor nitpick. But, in for a penny, in for a pound, as they say.
Yeah.
It's basically just that the concept of a prime minister didn't exist when this film was made. The first prime minister came about during the reign of George I, who was the king who followed Queen Anne. Now, having said that could be a major nitpick, but I also suspect that the term prime minister may have been used to describe one of the foremost ministers in Parliament. So in that context, the best I could say is that it's just misleading, but I'm still going to count it as a nitpick.
Okay.
That the first actual prime minister was, because at one point, I'm not going to get his name right, Nicholas Holt's character is introduced as the Prime Minister Harley. And yeah, maybe people used that phrase prime minister back then to mean something else, but I think, you're making it for a modern audience who interprets prime minister to be the prime minister, and the prime minister as an official capacity didn't actually exist at the time. So yeah, it's a nitpick. I mean, like I said, I was in a bit of a dearth for nitpicks, so I just thought might as well go for that one.
Well, that's a historical inaccuracy. No, actually, you know what? I have a nitpick then if we're doing historical inaccuracies.
Okay, yeah, hit me with your historical inaccuracy plot.
I got this from Wikipedia. Anne's loss of children is accurate, but she did not keep rabbits, which at the time were considered food or pests. So there you go. She would not have kept rabbits, even if she could have, but she didn't. No, she wouldn't have, because people didn't do that back then. Rabbits weren't pets. So there you go. There's an nitpick.
Well, I've always thought that. Like, rabbits are. I've always said that they really do a good job at riding the line between cute and tasty looking. When I look at a rabbit, I think, but I also think, which I don't do for most other animals. Like, cats do not look tasty. Dogs don't look tasty. Rabbits, you're just like, they're so plump and ripe, and just want to sink your teeth into them and eat their yummy rabbit insides. Anyway,
Jesus
plot.
Christ.
So this plot, it's basically it's all about court politics.
Shall I just read the plot? No, like a novel.
Yeah, read the plot, Luke. Instead of me just trying to summarize it, why don't you read it?
Sure thing. So, this movie, The Favourite, is set in early 18th century England, around 1704 to be precise. The film's story examines the relationship between two cousins, Sarah, Duchess of Marlborough, who is played by Rachel Weisz, and Abigail Masham. She eventually becomes Abigail Masham, obviously, who is played by Emma Stone, who are vying to be court favourites of Queen Anne, Olivia Colman. And as you say, Michael, yes, it is all about court politics, these two vying to be, as the movie is titled, the favourite of Queen Anne. As simple as that, really.
Yeah. You nailed it, Luke.
Okay.
And yeah, that's it. It's basically just a bunch of people fighting, massaging people's legs, and also being lesbians.
Yes. Well, that's the crucial bit, obviously. When the movie really kicks into gear, when Emma Stone, who obviously plays Abigail, discovers that Queen Anne and Sarah and Marlborough are having a lesbian relationship. Therefore, she sees an opportunity to, get in there in more ways than one concerning Queen Anne. So she can eventually become a lady. And yes, that she eventually does succeed in that. So yeah, I think in these kind of movies, I think they are not very rewatchable, because I found myself very interested and engaged throughout the movie. Like, I wasn't bored. I really wasn't. And to come out of this movie thinking, yeah, I liked it, it was good, from a movie where I really wasn't bored is surprising, but I think I can explain it. It's because once you are very interested to see who comes out on top. Is it going to be Emma Stone? Is it going to be Rachel Weisz? You know, who's going to survive in this cutthroat world of court politics? And yeah, that stuff interests me, and obviously that interests you as well, all that infighting. But then afterwards...
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, but then afterwards...
It's like Game of Thrones.
I guess so. Well, yeah. I haven't seen a lot of Game of Thrones, so I don't know if it is like Game of Thrones or not.
Well, it's very overtly sexual, like Game of Thrones.
Okay.
I can't argue with that.
Fair enough. So then I get to the end of the movie, and I'm like, okay, that was good. I enjoyed that. I really have no desire to see this again, because I know what happens. Emma Stone comes out on top at the end. Rachel Weisz is exiled, and then we see then we see Emma Stone try and squish a rabbit, and that does not endear herself to Queen Anne, which is a ending which I don't like, and I'll talk about in a bit. But yeah, essentially, yeah, that's it. It's like, okay, well, Emma Stone's won. I don't think there is, like I said, much rewatchability with this. I don't know if you agree with that or not.
Yeah, I think definitely. So when I rewatched it, it had been after letting it sit for a while, and I found the experiences somewhat more similar. I think definitely the first time you watch it, there's a lot more intrigue.
Yes,
exactly. The second time you watch it, yeah, the only aspect of it you can really get behind. I would say actually, the second time watching it, I think the emotionality of
is that a word?
Queen. I think it's a word, but if it's not, we'll just assume it is. It's a word now. You know, I mean, language is constantly evolving. The emotionality of Queen Anne's like situation, and basically just how sad and miserable. Like, that's the thing. That's what struck me the second time I watched it. When all of the kind of intrigue of the court politics is gone, because you know how it works, you're just left like thinking how sad and miserable everybody's situation seems to be 100% of the time. They're all just angry and shouting and crying and screaming in pain because they got all of these diseases because they're all anti-vaxxers, I assume.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's not a nice situation to be in, which I guess has its benefits. I mean, it provides some kind of vague emotional stimulation, but definitely it's not as interesting plot-wise the set on the second watches. I think the emotionality of it still does hold up a bit.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, I agree with your broad point about the plot.
Yeah, but fair enough. Well, that's the thing. This movie is all about, well, as it's titled, The Favourite. Who's going to be the favourite?
It's all about the Benjamins, baby.
All about, is it? Really?
No.
I mean, I get the reference, but I don't really know what that reference has
to do. Well,
you
know, I mean, because obviously they're very extravagant in these times.
I mean,
can't argue that. And also, in fact, actually, I mean, this film is actually very much all about the Benjamins, in that you've got Mr. Harley basically saying, we can't tax people too much for this war. And Sarah's like, yes, we can. I mean, what a Hillary Clinton, eh? Sarah's a real war hawk. But, you know, that's the thing going on in the background. You've got, so it's not just Abigail and Sarah competing to see who can become Queen Anne's sidekick, favourite. That's the name of the film. You've also got Mr. Harley, played by Nicholas Hoult, and Sarah competing over whether or not they're going to levy taxes to, it's like Star Wars The Phantom Menace, levy taxes to continue to fight the War of Spanish Succession. So,
you know what, actually, this is, you mentioned The Phantom Menace, and obviously a lot of movies have these politics, obviously, it's not just these two, but I do think about it right now. This movie explains what's going on more clearly than The Phantom Menace, like, and more succinctly. And this is like an Oscar-winning, period drama, and obviously it's a comedy as well. But yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, if a kid watching this would get what's going on more in The Favourite than The Phantom Menace in terms of the politics, which is just incredible. But yeah, I think you're right overall, Michael. I think you could argue that this movie should just be called The Loser, and it should be about Lady Marlborough, because not only does she lose Abigail to Queen Anne, she also loses the fucking argument about whether we should attack the French to Lord Hawley as well. So yeah, she's a double loser. Like, she really loses out, and it's all because she went up and got Abigail when she had healed the Queen. If she didn't do that, so she's really it's all her fault. What can you say?
Yeah. It just goes to show you should let old ladies be in pain.
Yeah, that's the moral of the story. I want to talk now about Emma Stone in her role as Abigail Masham. And this is, even though it's called The Favourite, and even though Olivia Colman is meant to be the main character, which we'll get onto later, this movie is really about Emma Stone more than anything. Her progressing up, the ranks in Queen Anne's court. And yeah, I think, obviously, there is an interest in whether she'll beat Lady Marlborough, but I do have a few problems with this. I think overall it's done well. I think, to see her rise, it's very believable what happens. All the politics, all the stuff going on, I think, is believable. I don't think there's anything that I guess you have some license because Queen Anne is such a...
Yes, it suspends your disbelief.
Yeah, it does suspend my disbelief. But even, I don't think it needs to do that, though. That's what the point I'm making. I don't think it needs to suspend my disbelief, because I think everything that happens is realistic, especially since Queen Anne is crazy. Well, just a bit crazy.
And so, well, to be fair, it does seem like every monarch was a bit crazy back then. They're just like, it's probably because of all the incest. I think that maybe had that might also explain the constant stillbirths and infant mortality that they experience. It's pretty hard when the family trees. What does they say? It's like the family trees a circle or something. That's the problem.
Yeah, that is correct. Yes, incest is a big problem in the royal family. For sure. Thankfully, though, Meghan Markle's here to save the day, so everyone's happy about that. Yeah, I think overall, though, there are some issues I have with the character of Abigail Masham. So at the end of the movie, this is my issue. She squishes a rabbit. Okay, why did she do that?
Because she's crazy. Like, I don't know. Yeah, it's weird.
There's nothing...
By the end of the film, I feel like you're just already. I mean, I was so on board with the craziness by the end of the film, just because everyone's crazy all the time, that I was like, yeah, it makes sense.
But here's the thing: she does bad stuff, like poisoning Lady Marlborough, but you get that because it's a political move. You're going to poison someone, so she it's incapacitated, and then you can work your magic on Prince Anne in more ways than one, and therefore you can become a lady like she did. I get that. Why the fuck would she squish a rabbit at the end? Like, it's psychopath stuff. And throughout the movie, I think there is nothing that really, indicate that she was a psychopath. I mean, she does some bad stuff, like I said, but, you could say, well, that's poisoning someone. It's not about being pure evil. It's about trying to survive. And you could argue, the politics of the court turn everybody evil, so you can make that argument. But the rabbit squishing, not advantageous politically to her at all. And she's doing it in the presence of the Queen. And
it's not even, I guess you'd say, self-interested.
Yeah, it's not
even Machiavellian.
Yeah, exactly. It's not Machiavellian. That's the word for it. And the rabbit is making a fucking noise. I just don't get it. Like, why would you fucking do that? It kind of reduces the overall message of the movie if she's just naturally evil. And that the message would be, this is what happens when, if you want to end up being, the favourite of the Queen, you got to, get really dirty. You got to fucking poison people. Yeah. You got to stab people in the back.
A dirty, filthy lesbian and engage in some dirty lesbian action.
God. You got to
love it.
Yeah, you got to do that if you want. Yeah, you got to do stuff which you perhaps wouldn't want to do. I don't know if Abigail was a lesbian. Yeah. I'm guessing not.
And to be fair, I mean, even if she was a lesbian, I feel like I'm straight. And I would not have had sex with Queen Anne.
Wow, that's a very brave thing for you to say.
I know, yeah. I'm just because because I'm not related to her, I think. Haha.
Yeah, no, that's a good joke.
The weird thing is, like, she, I was curious, she died at 49, Queen Anne. So,
that's decent.
Like, by today's standards, it's like, it's not even that old, but that just shows that back then, it was like, oh, okay, grandma. Yeah.
But that's decent back then, 49. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not awful.
That's all right. So yeah, she should be proud of that, honestly. Given how ill she was, that's a W for her, definitely. No, but I do think Abigail just at the end just squishing fucking. Why did that need to happen? Like, surely you could have done something else to show Queen Anne that she's actually not a good person. And that's the thing. At the end, I looked in the Wikipedia description for this moment because I was interested, and it says, while lounging in the Queen's chamber, Abigail abuses one of Anne's rabbits. Anne, now very sick, is awakened by the animal's distress cry. finally realizing Abigail's cruel nature, Anne forces herself out of bed and orders Abigail to massage her legs while gradually bearing down on Abigail's head with her hand. Sexy. No, but the first part, finally realizing Abigail's cruel nature.
Yeah.
I think up until that point...
She doesn't seem that cruel up until that point. Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, I didn't think she had a cruel nature. I just thought this is what happens, when you got to get to the top. You got to do stuff, It's about survival. That's what it was about. It's not she's cruel. It's about she needs to survive. And doing that at the end is like, oh, I'm not trying to survive. I'm just doing stuff because, I like being evil. I like pushing my weight around and all that shit, which, yeah, I don't like it. So that is something which I really didn't like with Anne's character, Abigail's character, and I do think it, kind of invalidated the message of the movie a bit, I'd say, to be honest. So, yeah, do you agree with me on that or not?
Yeah, I think so basically, in other words, it's supposed to be a film about what anybody would have to do if they wanted to get by in this world.
Become the favourite, yeah.
And everything she does up until that point is kind of what most people, I think, would be willing to do. I think if it was between, like,
if that was your
living
goal,
in a nice stately home and being thrown out onto the streets, I think a lot of people would be willing to do a few things. Especially seeing as Sarah isn't a nice person anyway, you could justify, being a bit mean to her, poisoning her tea and stuff. So, yeah, and then to abuse a rabbit, I think it's a bit weird. And again, I would wonder about... Because I would say definitely, especially with that Wikipedia summary of it being realizing her cruel nature, is even worse. And I think, because I would maybe interpret it more as like because the better interpretation would be that she's become kind of like that. Whereas saying it, she realizes her cruel nature implies she was always like that. So obviously, again, Wikipedia summaries aren't authoritative, but the fact that that was even the interpretation gleaned shows that that is an issue.
But the argument that she's become like that.
Yeah.
But like,
well, yeah.
like we
I
said
mean,
before,
even though we haven't been shown she's become like that, I agree with that. But at least that she's become like that would be more logical than like, look at how inherently evil she is.
Yeah, but that's what I was trying to say before, there's no political advantage to stomping on a rabbit.
Yeah, that too, yeah.
Yeah. Like,
so it shows,
Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, she's poisoning people, for political gain. We'll get that. Stomping on the rabbit, that doesn't get it. So
everyone loves.
Her action should not lead to that. And if she's already like that from the beginning, it kind of invalidates the message. So either argument, you can make to defend it.
There's limits.
Yeah, it has its limits, definitely. Another thing which I have an issue with her character is it doesn't really set up her motivation. Because I could think she kind of arrives like an afterthought. Because obviously we have the scenes with Lady Marlborough and Queen Anne first, and then the story revolves around Abigail the most, more than Queen Anne or Lady Marlborough, for sure. But like, why is she arriving at this castle? She wants to be employed, but I mean, surely she must, like, she obviously wants to get to the top. That's pretty clear by the actions that she's taken. She wants to be a lady again. I don't know, maybe you had flashbacks to her being a lady, but then again, it's a comedy, that would be more serious. Maybe that doesn't work with the tone of the movie. I don't know. But, yeah.
Yeah. I think,
just not
a part of the issue, it feels like it's not really, this film, it's not exactly a character study. It sort of just feels like things just happen, like the characters just do things for their own sake, but it's as if like you're just watching these things happen. You're not really getting an idea of what the characters actually believe and why they're doing these things and how they're changing. I think that would be a legitimate point, that basically, you can't really see how you don't really know what's going on in Abigail's head at any given point, and that causes the confusion. For example, with, well, was she always an evil person, or did she become an evil person, or whatever? Like, we don't really know, because she just shows up and starts doing things, and most other people just show up and start doing things.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. She shows up and starts doing things, but yeah, like I said before, there's no motivation for that. And again, it's a comedy film as well as a drama. So, okay, if you had more focusing on her character and what motivates her, then it becomes less of a comedy. And she does make some remarks about being a prostitute and all of that, and that's the life she'd have to live behind. But yeah, there's a clear, because obviously she lies to the foreman, I think they're called, so she can try and make sure that Queen Anne's leg is better. So she has a clear idea of what she wants to do. Why, of course you'd say, she wants to be a lady again. That motivation was not hammered home. I think it would be better. Because, it is kind of like, well, she just comes up and starts doing stuff. And, that's a big step from, like, being someone who's, working in the kitchen with the rest of the servants to, oh, I want to be, a lady. That's I mean, it's not a real big step to want that, but it's a real big step to take the actions to go and do that. That requires real motivation, which, unfortunately, you don't see. And that, again, that is the instigation of this movie. That is the driving force of this movie. So yeah, I would just like to see that, and her not, like you said, just turn up and start doing stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Anything else to say on the plot?
Not really. I mean, basically, I think we covered everything. Mostly just that it's you kind of get the impression that you're just this observer watching things. But I think the capacity for the weird thing is actually that the understanding of the political situation, which is something that's happening in the background, is more well established than the understanding of the emotional dynamic between the three main characters. And obviously, you get Queen Anne, you can get the impression that she's really sad, she's really miserable, she's kind of crazy. But the other two, you're just like, okay, they're just doing things to get more power. But, like, for example, I guess another issue is I didn't really have much cause to root for either person over the other or anything like that. I didn't feel very invested in it. So, I think those are all issues with not only initial things, but obviously rewatchability as well.
Yeah, I guess so. I think Lady Marlborough, again, it would be nice to have her motivation as well laid out. Obviously, Abigail's the main character, that's why I focused on her. But it would be nice if Lady Marlborough was like, she wants to, I don't know, rule over a particular section of France. I don't know, something like that. That's why she's pushing for war. That's why she's so keen for war.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Because, I mean, there's that line where, obviously, Abigail says to Sarah, who's obviously her husband is Marlborough, who was a famous general in the War of Spanish Succession, as everybody knows. Your husband is out there fighting. Why are you pushing for a war? Aren't you worried he's going to die? And she's like,
well, one must do what is necessary for their country. One must sacrifice blah, blah, blah.
Which is like a kind of a non-answer.
Yeah, but that's fine.
Again, would make sense within the context of like politics and keeping things close to your sleeve. But then from the perspective of we want to watch and actually understand, well, why is she perfectly content for her husband to die?
Yes.
Potentially die in war. What's the reason? And we don't really know.
Well, maybe she doesn't care for her husband, and that's maybe why she doesn't care if her husband dies. But
now, if I understand women in the past, they were all very satisfied with their marriages.
Yeah, definitely. But like, what's really driving her? Is that because she's already got what she wants? Really, she's the right-hand woman to Queen Anne. She's already in there. So why is she really pushing for this war? I'm not sure. Like, I don't think she can rise any higher in the ranks in the British hierarchical system. But she's the thing is, she's a lady in this, but I believe is a duchess higher than a lady? I believe it is.
I mean, obviously, like from a de facto point of view, she's already very powerful, being the favourite to the Queen. But I guess you could say you could be more powerful in the event that obviously you rise more power de jure. I think the only way a woman could really do that would be by marrying other people, though. And I feel like because she's already married to this Marlborough guy, I mean, maybe she wants Marlborough to die so that then she can marry some other dude. But again, that's not
I don't think that'd happen considering her age. Yeah, I think that's pretty unrealistic. But yeah, the thing is that what I was going to say is she's actually a duchess. She was actually a duchess in real life. So again, like she's basically, I guess, in this movie as powerful as she's ever going to be. So why does she want? Maybe again, she invades France and then she convinces Queen Anne that her and her husband, since he's the general and she's his wife, they can be. What's it called when you rule over
I think it's a duchy actually. Is when you or principality. Principality would be the closest thing, actually. So, like, it's where you have a subordinate form of government under a monarchy.
Yeah.
So, like, the Principality of Wales.
Yeah, and she rules over that. And so she's, like, she's as close to being a queen as she's going to get. And that's,
Yeah, she is.
Yeah, and so maybe, but again, that's not spelled out. So, yeah, that's some more issues. Again, let's talk about the subplots for a bit. I guess the Hawley thing, him trying to be prime minister and all that. Yeah, I think that's key to this film, because if it's just constantly about these three main characters, then it's going to get a bit a bit overbearing perhaps. So to have those scenes with Lord Hawley, or Harley, sorry, I believe that's what he's called, Lord Harley doing his thing, that's fun as well. What can you say?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, there's a good inclusion, good idea to have that, and I guess it's not really a side story because it does link into the main plot as well, because obviously Lady Marlborough is involved in the war effort. So yeah, that's a nice side plot. So yeah, I guess to sum up on the plot, what is interesting about it is who's going to win between Sarah and Abigail. But then once you find out, like I did the first time, it's like I don't really want to watch it again. I don't really care about it because I know what happens now. There's nothing more to it than that, and I guess that's the issue with these kind of movies. Unless the characters are inherently interesting, which again, because of the lack of motivation, and because at the end Emma Stone's character just does something completely ridiculous, and Lady Marlborough just seems to be, not very three-dimensional. I'd say quite 2D. Like she's a bit of a she wants more power. She basically is uses Queen Anne. She's not got more depth than that. Maybe I'm wrong on that. I don't know. Do you think she's got more depth than that?
Than using. I mean, she might, but it's not really. No, not within the context of the film. Is it shown? It's not necessarily explicitly shown that she's one-dimensional, but it's also not shown that she is three-dimensional.
Yeah. So yeah, again, I that's the thing. So I think if you want to make this rewatchable, you do the things we've criticised better, and then hopefully then it'll just be more than your only interest. Is the intrigue of watching who comes out on top, essentially.
Yeah.
What do you want to talk about next?
I think we just jump straight into characters now.
Okay.
Especially seeing as obviously this film the one thing it did win for was the Best Actress for Olivia Colman. So I think we should start off by talking about Queen Anne, and obviously more specifically Olivia Colman's performance. What did you think of Olivia Colman's performance?
She didn't deserve to win Best Actress because she was not the main actress in this movie. That was Emma Stone. She was a supporting actress. Here's the thing: why did Emma Stone? Why was she Best Supporting Actress, and why was Olivia Colman Best Actress? Why were they in those categories?
Is there a right answer, Luke?
There is a right answer.
I think there might be.
There is a right
I
answer.
would assume if you were asking me to give the answer, I would think maybe that Olivia Colman is more of a veteran, or maybe that they felt that Olivia Colman's performance was very good and kind of the center of the whole thing. So because Emma Stone did a really good performance.
I disagree with that. I think the real reason is Emma Stone won Best Actress.
Oh yeah, Best Actress last year. That makes sense. Well, not last year, but La La Land.
Yeah, she won it for La La Land quite recently, 2 years ago. She won it in the 2017 Oscars, and so therefore, she's not gonna win it again in the 2019 Oscars. She's not gonna win it. So we have to then go to Olivia Colman. She is our push for Best Actress. It's going to be Olivia Colman, and Emma Stone is relegated to Best Supporting with Rachel Weisz. So that's why I think they did it, because they knew they weren't going to win with Emma Stone, and they knew because Olivia Colman, I think she gives a very good performance. I think we can all agree on that. She's got a great...
And they foresaw the Oscar speech, and they were like, yeah, that would be great publicity for us.
Yeah, again, she's a very likeable person. That definitely helps. And they were like, if she wins Best Supporting Actress, nobody cares about that. But if she wins Best Actress, that's big. That's big. And Emma Stone's not going to win it, because she won it 2 years ago. And this performance from Emma Stone isn't, amazing. Nobody's going, oh, wow, she should definitely win. So let's put Olivia Colman as Best Actress. And it worked. She wins Best Actress. Even though she shouldn't have been nominated, in my opinion. I mean, I would love to see this, but the screen time, Emma Stone compared to Olivia Colman, I swear Emma Stone would comfortably be in the lead.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, to be fair, I think there are probably other examples of that where the supporting. I mean, I can't think of any, but I would imagine.
There's definitely other examples. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But again, I think. What's the movie? Who's the instigator of the plot? It's Emma Stone. I think you follow her more, and obviously we know all about what's going on with Emma Stone and what she's trying to do. Queen Anne is none the wiser, so it's kind of like from Emma Stone's perspective, this movie, because obviously Queen Anne doesn't discover until the end what's going on with because she squishes a rabbit, which is fucking stupid, but again, it's told from the perspective of Emma Stone, so she should have been nominated. But there you go. There's people can do what they want, I guess. Whatever.
Having said that, if Emma Stone was nominated for Best Actress, she shouldn't have won, I don't think. I mean, I don't know who else was nominated.
I've got the nominations up right here, Michael.
Okay, I'm ready for it.
So the nominations were Yalitza Aparicio, I believe I got that right, for Roma, Glenn Close for The Wife, Lady Gaga for A Star Is Born, and Melissa McCarthy for Can You Ever Forgive Me? Not for Life of the Party. which is a surprise.
Oh, that's disappointing.
Yeah, so I think if Emma Stone's in that category, Yalitza Aparicio wins, because she was my pick to win Best Actress, and she didn't. So yeah, that would be my my guess. So yeah, it would have been Emma Stone. And yeah, then again, if Emma Stone's win Best Actress, then you don't get that amazing Olivia Colman speech. So yeah,
So it was worth it.
It was definitely worth it. You know, even if Emma Stone would have won, it's still worth it to put Olivia Colman in there. So yeah, that's that. So but to sum up on her performance, Olivia Colman, very good. I think we'll discuss when we who should have won Best Actress between Colman and Aparicio when we do Roma, because then we'll have watched both. Yeah, but certainly very good from her. And same from Emma Stone, very good, not incredible. She just got nominated for Best Supporting Actress, as did Rachel Weisz, did not win either. Yeah.
The thing is, obviously, what we should take away from the fact that Olivia Colman's performance is really good, and even though, based on the technicalities of the fact she wasn't the lead actress, she was more of a supporting actress. If we ignore that,
we shouldn't ignore
she was
it.
placed in that. Well, you know,
No, I don't.
It's clearly not everyone else is so anal retentive about this league.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you just accept that she was nominated for the category she was nominated in, well, based on that, she should have won, because it was a very powerful performance. There were a few, because what I already said was the main thing that sticks with you on a second watch when you're not really paying attention to other things is the sadness and just the misery, and it's all conveyed very well by Olivia Colman's sad, pathetic face. She does a really good, pathetic face when the scene where Sarah's like, "You look like a badger," and then Olivia Colman's like, "Oh," and then she shows in the mirror and she's like, "What does that look like?" And Olivia Colman's like, "A badger," and you just get this impression of wow,
yeah,
she's just so tortured by having to exist around these horrible, toxic personalities.
Her character is great though. Her actual character is great, and she plays it very well. She's really interesting. She's just not the main character, but no, she is really interesting. You know, but choosing whether to, I guess Lady Marlborough spells it out well at the end. It's like, I tell you that you look like a badger because I love you. You know, she's just doing that because, or Abigail's just doing that because, you know,
she's placating you.
Yeah, exactly. She's not telling you the truth. And I'd argue that, Lady Marlborough, she wants to control Queen Anne. That's why she tells her what to do. That's what I'd say to that in response. But yeah, again, that's what she's caught with. She's caught between two people who, you know, one wants
a rock and a hard place.
Yeah, one wants to control her, and one wants to just let her do whatever she wants to do. And obviously, at the end, Abigail succeeds in doing that with, you know, the partying and all of that stuff. And she's got no friends. She's got fake friends, essentially, fake friends.
Fake friends, you know, take them. Yeah,
exactly. So yeah, I wonder if Lady Marlborough was actually a lesbian in this movie. Was she actually? Because obviously Queen Anne, she discovers it, and she's like, "Oh, I could use this to my advantage." Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. My impression from everything I've ever learned about history is that sexuality is just this fiercely complicated thing throughout the entirety of history prior to the sexual revolution.
No, I'm just talking about in this movie.
Well, you know, everyone was gay back then. You know, because you just get those Greeks, all those Greeks used to do was just walk around bumming each other. So it's almost like you can't even say. And who knows? I mean, that is actually something I would be genuinely interested to know. Were there any actual lesbians in the past? Was
I get a bunch of people were lesbians in the past.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I get what you mean. But I kind of meant to say the exact opposite, really, when I said was anyone an actual lesbian. What I meant to say was how many of these kind of lesbians were there who were really just basically prostitutes doing it for sexual favors. That's the kind of impression you get from this, that Queen Anne, I guess she did have a husband. I'm going to guess
she did.
That her husband probably was dead by this point.
No, we'll get onto that in historical inaccuracies, which I'm very surprised you don't know that. But there you go.
Well, you know what? I kind of just guessed because I didn't know. But
okay.
So I'm just going to guess that a lot of people were very sexually unfulfilled in their marriages, which we of course get an indication of when Abigail marries that dude, Mr. Masham.
Yes.
And obviously he's like, "It's my bloody wedding night." And then she just gives him a completely dispassionate handjob. You know, it gives an indication that people were like, well, at least with lesbianness, there's the passion of it being kind of taboo. And that was it. Okay. So yeah, I would say generally speaking, back in the past, somebody munching muff was no strong indication that they were a lesbian.
Okay, yes, maybe so, but so you're falling on the side of the fence that Lady Marlborough was doing it for, you know, political reasons rather than she generally was a lesbian.
Yes.
Okay.
That's that. I will say that. I will put my sword in the stone, my flag in the ground. That's what I meant to say, and make that declaration.
Okay. Well, yeah. So when we go through the historical inaccuracies, that may change your mind, I think.
I see.
Yeah. But anyway, basically, what it says is that lesbianism wasn't. There was probably not a lesbian relationship between Queen Anne and Lady Marlborough. So if something like this was to happen, then it would probably be because not a political
because they were
reasons,
lesbians.
Because they were lesbians. Yeah. So they.
How boring.
Yeah. There you go. But anyway, let's us move on to. What do you want to talk about next? Oh no, I want to talk about one more character.
Yeah, you want to talk about another person? Yes.
Which is the character Lord Harley.
Yes.
Which again, I thought his plot was great, but I found the performance just absolutely amazing from Nicholas Hoult.
Amazingly bad, maybe.
Really?
No, not really.
No.
No.
I knew you were joking. I think he's like he plays it so well. Like he's just such a fun character. And here's the thing: I don't think there will be a sequel. But interestingly, Emma Stone's at the bottom of the Wikipedia page, she said she's indicating interest in a possible sequel that would follow the political careers of the male characters in the film. Stone added, if there was a sequel, she hoped it would follow Nicholas Holt's character, Robert Harley. Hopefully it would be Harley's story. She said, I would love to see where Harley goes from there. And I agree, I think the character is just really, really fun. He plays it so well, and I really liked it. And I don't know, maybe he should have got nominated for Best Supporting Actor. I'd have to check, I'd have to watch all the performances that did, because to make that bold claim. But I really liked him, and I thought, yeah, he was a standout. So I just thought I'd mention him. Well done, Nicholas Hoult. You have come a long way.
Yeah, I thought he did a good job too, yeah.
Yeah, you've come a long way since Skins, that is for sure.
Come a long way since playing Beast in X-Men.
Well, he played Beast in X-Men literally after this movie, so not really.
I know, yeah. That's great. That's hilarious to me. But no, yeah, I agree. It was good acting. I think all the acting was good. So
well, yeah, all
well
the
done.
acting was good.
Well done. You did your job, you actors.
Okay, so now, Michael, what do you want to get on to?
Well, I just wanted to talk a bit about the stylings of this film. Two things, really. Number one, the cinematography. They used a lot of spinny pan shots. Do you notice that? Like, I guess it makes sense because the Georgian aesthetic was very corridor centric. They love them some corridors.
Yes.
So obviously you have to have that pan just as people was walking along. So they did that. But the other thing they did, which was weird, is they used this fisheye lens where like everything looked as if you were looking for a fishbowl. And they occasionally used it. And every single time I thought, that's strange. It's strange.
They used it quite a bit at the beginning, and then it kind of faded.
Yeah, it kind of faded off, and I don't know. I mean, felt weird. So there's that. Finally, though, obviously the design and the costumes were all very good, and this got nominated for costume. It didn't win. I guess what did win? Was it Black Panther?
Yes, Black Panther won. Yes.
Yes, of course. So yes, makes sense. But
damn Black
this definitely could.
Panthers.
Yes, this could have won, but it didn't.
Well, yes, I agree, Michael. But I think what I want to talk about now, and I actually forgot to mention this to you when we were planning it, is something which I thought would be interesting to comment on, which is the Bechdel test.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Now you know what the Bechdel test is.
Yes. The whole people talk.
Yes.
Did they talk about a man?
Yes, the Bechdel test is a measure of the representation of women in fiction. It asks whether a work features at least two women who talk to each other about something other than a man. The requirement that two women must be named is something added. About half of these films meet this criteria. That's just more background on it. And apparently media industry studies indicate that films that pass the test financially outperform those that do not.
Oh, that's good. So now we have a real reason for female representation.
Yeah, all that go woke, go broke thing. It's not real.
Yeah.
Not true, guys. Yeah, so here's the thing. This movie, I think it might have just passed the Bechdel test, possibly. What do you
See,
think?
what a lot of people don't realise there is that you're making a joke based on the fact this film very obviously passed the Bechdel test.
Yes, this movie would have smashed the Bechdel test. Obviously, why I'm bringing this up is because it was nominated for Best Picture at the Academy Awards. And if this had won Best Picture, this would have just absolutely obliterated...
It would have shot those feminists up once and for all.
Wait, what?
Because then they wouldn't complain about things, because, yeah.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah. Okay, I see what you're going for. I was a bit confused there. Yeah, so I'm here. I've got a picture right here. Well, it's basically a graph of the proportion of words spoken by characters with more than 100 words in the last 20 years. I mean, it's a bit old, so it's the last film is Spotlight in 2016.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think The Shape of Water. Well, does sign language count as speaking?
Yeah, let's count it.
Okay. So it's a form of speaking, I guess. It's communicating. So basically, from Spotlight in 2016 to Braveheart in 1996, the proportion of words spoken by characters with more than 100 words, and there's one chart that shows women speaking and another chart that shows men speaking. And in every single Best Picture winner of the Academy Awards, men speaking has absolutely dwarfed women speaking from 1996 to 2016. The best movie, Michael, for that gets it as equal as possible?
Crash. No, American Beauty.
Yeah, you're right. American Beauty. American Beauty is the only one where male speaking does not crush female speaking. Titanic is kind of close, not really. The one which is there's two which. There's one which has absolutely no woman speaking. Can you guess which movie that is? One Best Picture in the year 2010 came out in 2009.
What one Best Picture in 2010? Oh, that's really going to annoy me. The Artist was like 2011, wasn't it, or something? And obviously that was... 2010. Oh, I'm so annoyed in my head right now because it's obviously something I should know.
The Artist isn't included in this because no one spoke, so... Yeah, just like
yeah.
It's The Hurt Locker.
The Hurt Locker.
Hurt Locker.
Of course, because that's about war.
No woman speaks in The Hurt Locker, and because it's about war, so only men are there. So okay, there's an excuse for that, perhaps. Which is the next worst movie?
Next worst.
Yeah.
See, I feel like I'm embarrassed by the number of Best Picture. Like, I don't really know.
Well, it's a movie which you very much like. That won in 2004.
2004?
Yeah, it came out in
Oh, yeah, this makes sense. Okay, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. And I was literally going to guess this, actually. Of course, Return of the King.
Yeah, Return of the King.
Yes, that would have very few women speaking.
Yes, very few. Also, the films that are really bad are Argo and Spotlight as well. Interesting.
What about Gladiator?
Gladiator was kind of average. Not a lot of women speaking, quite a bit of men speaking, but, it's kind of average compared to the rest, which, again, just shows how, how bad things were. Birdman. 2015 had a bunch of women speaking, which is good.
Oh yeah, Emma Stone was quite big in that, so that makes sense.
Yes, so, but yeah, again, shout out American Beauty. Best balance on the chart, but still more men speaking than women. So I just love to see this chart, and again, I think, because if we're counting, well, this movie didn't count The Artist, so perhaps it wouldn't, it wouldn't count the sign language in Shape of Water. So yeah, I would just love to see, if the favourite one, just a massive, women speaking, just dwarfing the rest.
Yeah.
That would be a really great. So yeah, if this would have won Best Picture, it would have been a massive turn up for the books, for sure.
Yes,
and it definitely, like we said at the start, passes the Bechdel test. Undoubtedly, it passes it in the first.
It passes it with flying colours.
Passes it with flying colours in the first 2 minutes. So anyway, we shall now move on.
I just wanted to talk about the portrayal of this time period because I like this time period. I think it's an exciting time period. It was a time period of change and transition. And that's exciting to me. Of course, talking about Queen Anne, we're talking about the half a century that led up to that. We got the English Civil War. We got the Restoration. We got the Glorious Revolution and the subsequent Jacobite Wars. And then, of course, we got the reign of William and Mary as co-monarchs, and then we got Queen Anne, and everything was just so messed up and confusing, and everyone was arguing, and I find that really interesting. And actually, it's not so much my criticism is historical inaccuracy, but rather that I feel like this film didn't do enough to capitalize on how interesting this time period was. Especially things, there's this war going on in the background, but I'm if you're going to mention a war, just show a bit of fighting. It would really cut through the treacle, wouldn't it? It would really you'd just be yeah, that would be great. And then maybe you could see some guy come home and he's injured horribly, but we don't see it. And I was you got this war going on, obviously a not very well-known war, the War of Spanish Succession. People don't really care about it. And I also thought I don't know, I feel there were a lot of missed opportunities. For example, how the War of Spanish Succession was like a Vietnam of its day, in that it was a case of, it's literally what it sounds like. It was a war over who was going to succeed to the Spanish throne. And obviously in the background, you get this thing of the characters are arguing over how much money it's going to cost. The characters are saying that they can't afford all of these lives to be lost and stuff like that. which I liked. But I wish they would have hammered home the fact that this was the UK getting involved in a war on the other side of Europe, which had nothing to do with them over who was going to rule a country that the UK had very little interest in, and that they were wasting all these lives. I just wish they kind of would have, because then people would watch that and they'd go, oh yeah, I relate to that. That's like Vietnam. It's like, they'd see kind of the parallels.
Okay, two things to that. Number one, so when I was talking about Lady Marlborough becoming ruler of a part of France, I was talking complete nonsense because the fight wasn't actually in France.
Well, the fight spilled over into France, so you can win a reward for that. It was basically the war, as far as I can summarize it, and again, I'm not a massive expert, but it was basically between two Spanish monarchs, one who was backed by France and one who was backed by Britain. So even though it was a war of Spanish succession, it was kind of a war between Spain and France. Okay. So brilliant.
Okay, so and then the second thing I wanted to say is I disagree that they should have shown fighting, because that's not at all.
It would have been so much. It would have been so cool. Like, I mean, I don't think you're realizing, even though we just mentioned Lord of the Rings: Return of the King, is how cool all the fighting was in Lord of the Rings: Return of the King, and that therefore the fighting in this, if it was shown, would also have been really cool.
The movie,
they should have brought like Zack Snyder in, do a couple of slow motion shots.
Yeah, the movie is all about these people living in this bubble. So to have a war going on. I guess, because, as we talked about, you love Return of the King. So you love a bit of politics and a bit of fighting. A bit of politics and a bit of fighting. Yeah, we do love
fighting
that.
and politics.
Yeah, we do love that.
That's why I like Phantom Menace so much.
And The Dark Knight. Yeah, that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the thing. I disagree. Because...
I kind of get... Yeah, I actually do understand why some people might think I'm a bit of a pleb and a Philistine for wanting some sexy conflict. However, I will maintain that I think that the idea of like getting across what the War of Spanish, because I don't think they ever refer to it. Like obviously you thought it took place in France, which part of it did, so fair enough. But they never refer to it like as the War of Spanish Succession.
But was that just called it after that?
You see, I was thinking about that, but I think they never refer to the fact that it was basically a conflict over who was going to be the King of Spain, which, if they would have said that, it would have further hammered home the fact that this was a war which the UK really... It wasn't like some, say, the Napoleonic Wars, where right next door there was this big guy amassing a massive army. That's not what the movie's about. The movie's not really about how privileged these people are compared to the real people. It's not about that. It is literally about what goes on in this bubble. Yeah, I don't know. I just like... For me personally, it's an interesting time, and I think it's a neglected period of history. A lot of people kind of are like, oh yeah, Tudors, then Victorians. That's like what a lot of people's understanding of history is.
And
like, oh yeah, there was Tudors and then there were Victorians. And I just think, it would have been nice, especially seeing as it is like such an interesting period. I think it would have added.
No, it's not an interesting period. It is the least interesting period in British history. Nobody gives a shit.
It's my favourite period.
Nobody gives a shit from about 1670 to about, I don't know,
like 1800.
Well, I guess because of the American Revolution, I was going to say like 1780, like that 100-year period.
Yeah,
it's so
but to be fair, even in the UK, we don't really care. Like only Americans care about the American Revolution. Yeah. Like in the UK, the American Revolution that still falls under the Georgians, and we don't really care about the Georgians. In fact, in a way, I think in the UK we don't really care about the Napoleonic Wars.
We don't really care about anything.
Yeah, we hate ourselves. Oh my! Could you remember when Nigel Farage waved the Union Jack? Oh, can we talk about the fact that tomorrow we're going to leave the EU?
We're not actually leaving the EU, though, are we?
Well, we're. I think what we're actually doing is we're officially leaving the EU, but we still have to come up with the deals that we're going to have.
Exactly.
So, like, we're leaving the EU, but we're still going to be on the terms of the EU, even though. So, yeah. Technically speaking, legally, we're leaving the EU.
Around November, December time, I suspect that a lot of people, like on Question Time, and just people on Twitter or, the news items are saying like, wait, I thought we left the EU. Why are we still having to do a deal with them? That's going to come up over and over again. It's going to be great.
Why don't we have bendy bananas if we've left the EU? Can you answer me that? Anyway, yeah. So that was my main point, basically, just that I thought that the historical thing would have been a little salt on top, like a little bit of seasoning. But I do want to hear, because I didn't really care about historical inaccuracies, despite the fact that I knew this whole time that that's what you thought I did want to talk about. It wasn't. But I want to hear what you have to say about historical inaccuracies,
Sure thing. So, I'm just going to go through and ask, did it matter? Because the last time we did a movie kind of like this, I think was maybe in Darkest Hour.
I was just, thinking
with Churchill, and we said that some of the stuff didn't matter, but the big thing about Neville... No, the big thing about
Neville Chamberlain not being like evil or something.
Neville
like that.
Chamberlain and the rest of the people who weren't behind Winston Churchill wanting him to negotiate a peace treaty with Germany was completely false. That did not happen. A peace treaty with Germany was never on the table, and the fact that that was one of the big choices in the movie that had to be made is a complete fabrication, and that did matter for sure, because that's the whole fucking movie, and you're just making it up. So yes, that did matter. Let's go through what mattered here. So Lanthimos, the director, says some of the things in the film are accurate and a lot aren't. That's an interesting start. While the broader outlines of the characters' rivalry for Anne's attentions are true, many of the major episodes and themes of the film are fictional or speculative. Any evaluation of the sexual aspects of the film's relationships requires understanding of the contemporaneous morals and practices and use of language. So essentially there's some writings, there's some letters back in the day, and it's hard to say what some of the phrases meant. Historians consider it unlikely Anne was physically intimate with her female friends, Sarah Churchill, who is erroneously referred to in the film as Lady Marlborough. She had become the Duchess of Marlborough in 1702. She is known to have tried blackmailing Anne with the threat of publishing private letters between them. This has led some to wonder if the letters contained evidence the two women had a sexual relationship. So, yeah, there you go. That's up in the air. Alwyn said there was a little concern for historical research of characters' backgrounds. They said, I think people turned up to the rehearsal period thinking maybe they should have read the history books, thought about the characters and their intentions and all of that stuff. But yeah, Yorgos made it quite clear early on there wasn't going to be much consideration for the historical accuracy to a degree. He wasn't too caught up or concerned with it. He just wanted to have fun as people, as a cast, and to explore relationships between us, which is what we did. So there wasn't an emphasis on historical accuracy. History records that England was ruled for a brief period in the early 18th century by Queen Anne, whose physical infirmities were rivaled only by her psychological quirks. She was indeed cancelled by her lifelong friend and perhaps lover, Lady Sarah Churchill. Finally, there was a chambermaid named Abigail Masham who infiltrated the highest levels of the royal house. So yeah, that's all true. The basis, I guess the basis is there, which is the key thing. Like that, I think that is really why I don't care, because there was somebody called Abigail Masham. There was somebody called, well, it says here, Lady Sarah Churchill, obviously.
And it's doing very little to kind of directly. I mean, obviously, you can make up people being gay.
Yeah.
I've always been of the position that if you want to make up a historical figure being gay, then just have at it.
Yeah. And one last thing. Queen Anne, this is maybe something which I think is a problem. Queen Anne was close to Prince George, Duke of Cumberland, who died in October 1708, her Danish husband, who was not portrayed in the film, but was alive for most of the time covered. So where the fuck was he? That is something I think you can't just write away.
We need more men in our films.
She actually had a husband. He could have been off doing something. I don't know. He could have been off touring a fucking other country. Who knows? Like, or maybe because he would have been the prince. No, because it's still Queen Anne. He's still the prince, so he can go off and he doesn't need to be in the country for a time of war, because the Queen's still the top dog in this story. Yeah. So yeah, he could have been off somewhere else. Anne's health problems were severe enough that she may have had little sex drive. That's interesting.
Yeah,
maybe. That's it.
I mean, tell you what, after 17 kids.
Oh yeah.
I mean, obviously, some of them weren't fully formed when they came out. I assume, unless imagine if all of them went to term and. Ooh,
yeah,
that's bad.
Some episodes are fictional, such as Masham's attempt to poison the Duchess of Marlborough, and as we said before, Anne's loss of children is accurate, but she did not keep rabbits, which were considered food or pests at the time. So essentially, I think you can always make stuff up about maybe. Yeah, I think people have done the same with Abraham Lincoln. Like, did he have a gay relationship with one of the people who he was close to at the time? There's rumours about that, and if you made a movie about that, I wouldn't mind. But the one issue I do have is that Queen Anne had a fucking husband who was alive at this time. Where was he?
Yeah.
Like, you can't just write him out of history. That doesn't... the fucking husband's the Queen. It doesn't work like that. So you gotta have an idea of what to do with that.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, that is the greatest oversight.
Yeah, okay. So we agree.
And we will never forgive it.
So yeah, I think overall, historical inaccuracies don't matter that much apart from that. So yeah, it's fine. And I think the director got it right with his attitude. It's like, again, because this is a period in history, I guess the difference to Churchill is like people care a lot about World War II and Churchill and all of that. Yeah. For obvious reasons. Nobody cares about what the fuck went on in 1704 between these three women. So yeah, might as well write a good movie about it, which it's fiction. Yeah, might as well do it. So yeah, that's it. And yeah, are we ready to conclude now, Michael?
Yeah, we are.
So do you want to go first? Because I've spoken a bit.
Yes, that's how we do it. Da, 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 da. So this film, the main negative, let's start with the negatives. The main negative is that you don't really get an impression of the attitudes of the characters or the desires of the characters, particularly the two main characters who are conflicting, obviously, Abigail and Sarah. And, I wasn't like, oh yeah, Sarah, her personality, Abigail, her interests, which again, obviously, I'm not saying like we needed a bloody Suicide Squad style little profile telling us everything, but you don't really feel like they're actual people. You just feel like you feel like you're playing Civilization, watching a bunch of AI characters compete in the Take Over the Queen mission, which doesn't actually exist. It also, in some sense, it did a good job at capturing the zeitgeist of the time, which I found interesting because it's a somewhat neglected time. Obviously, it does a good job at showing the extravagance and men wearing makeupness of the period. Having said that, I also think there was some interesting stuff that wasn't explored, and that was maybe a missed opportunity which could have added a bit more to the film. The main benefit for the film, I think, is just the emotional aspects brought forward primarily by Olivia Colman, which I thought was quite powerful. Again, a lot of that comes from like the more you know about her, obviously the fact she lost 17 children, which is very sad. And that's you kind of get aspect. I think the curious thing is that Queen Anne was obviously the most interesting character, and maybe they should have leaned more into Queen Anne, and then they could have also justified giving Olivia Colman the lead actress nomination when she wasn't the lead actress because she wasn't the main character. But Queen Anne was an interesting person to watch, very interesting story. So maybe she should have been. In conclusion, it's a 6. It's a high 6, I think, though, probably, because I liked a lot of aspects of it. Oh, no, I'm going to be nice. I'm going to say it's a low 7. I'm going to say it's a low 7. I'm going to put it above Jumanji Into the Jungle. And below Zootopia. Again, I mean, Zootopia was fun, but yeah, so I'm actually bumping up to a low 7 because I think I've got like, for example, The Post is a low 7, which I think was similarly competent, nice, fun, but not great. So yeah, this is a low 7.
Well, I gave The Post an 8. Yeah, so, and I think this movie is worse than The Post. But I'm going to give this movie a 7.5 though, because I think I again what I really I like the political elements. It's fun. It's intriguing. It's a really well-made movie. Obviously, it had my attention throughout. But I think the issue obviously is it's not that rewatchable. Like I wasn't excited to watch it for a second time. And again, I think that's because there's not a lot of character development. And the reason why they did that, well, is it's a comedy. They went for the comedic route, and I think obviously. Did you find this movie funny, by the way?
I didn't find it very funny, no. I didn't laugh once. Yeah, I found this film miserable.
That's the thing, they went down this route of like a lot of posh people saying stuff in their posh accents.
Oh yeah, they say cunt a lot, actually.
And, that's the thing, it's like people saying posh stuff and then something vulgar is said at the end of it, like cunt or fuck. And it's just like, okay, I guess that's funny to a section of the audience who's watching, but
idiots.
Yeah, idiots. But I don't know. I'm not entertained by a swear word at the end.
Are you not entertained?
Or Olivia Colman says, "I like the way she sticks her tongue in me." It's I mean, it's just like it's not. It's just like, well, okay, yeah. It's an attempt at look, we're really posh people. Yeah, we say stuff like that, and I just don't find that funny. So. There you go. I guess comedy is subjective. So yeah, that's why I think if they went down the drama route more, it would have been a really good movie. I think this could have been a real contender for Best Picture because you had the great performances you had,
and it was a period piece.
We love period pieces. Had the costumes, the design, the set, the cinematography, all really amazing. And then there's there's just something lacking there. And then again, I think it's the motivations of the characters and the actual characters themselves. I think Queen Anne is the only good character in that who makes sense, or who the movie makes sense, if you get what I mean. And that again, she's got the Olivia Colman won Best Actress for it. So there you go. So 7.5 out of 10 for me. And again, I've obviously said the historical inaccuracies don't really matter at all. That doesn't factor into it. So 7.5 for The Favourites. So Michael, before we go, we are going to. I wasn't initially going to do this because obviously we're doing the Oscar movies, but we're going to predict Birds of Prey because I thought, you know what, The Favourite three women.
Oh, yeah.
Very much a female-led
Three birds.
movie, three birds. So let us do the new superhero movie coming out featuring 4 women. Wow. One more, eh? Which is Birds of Prey, the fantabulous emancipation of one Harley Quinn. Obviously, I imagine this will be a very different movie to the favourite. But, because women... is this like the first... No, this is the second DCEU movie that has a woman as its main character.
Yeah.
And it's the second...
Get on it, Marvel.
Yeah, and
Actually, no, they did Captain Marvel.
Yeah, and it's the third superhero movie overall. So yeah, the fact that we can do this, like, oh, there's a lot of women in this movie and there's a lot of women in that movie, and it can actually be a connection. Kind of
shows how far we've come.
Yeah, shows how far we have come. Exactly, that's the message. So, Michael, do you want to predict a Rotten Tomatoes score for Birds of Prey?
I'm good. No, 20. No, I think it's not going to do terribly. So I guess I'll go for I think it might get kind of in the 70s. I'll go for 78%.
78%. Okay, I am going to go for, because I think I'd probably guess around that. Here's the thing: I saw people reacted to it well at its launch its premiere last night.
Yeah,
but then again, they reacted well to The Rise of Skywalker. And all these fucking superhero movies or Star Wars movies, you get people in there who are, because they're such big properties, you want to be invited back, so they're going to say great things about the movie.
Yeah, exactly.
So you can never tell.
Shills. Bloody shills.
I'm going to play it safe and go for 74. So I'm not too far off you. Because again, I was probably going to guess in the 70s. So I'll go 74.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, that's fine.
Yeah. So yeah, that is that. We have been selecting and reflecting on the favourites because of our Oscar season. Join us next week when we will be doing what we do, Michael.
Well, we're jumping to the big one.
The big one.
We're looking at Green Book.
Green Book,
the winner of Best Picture.
Yes, the winner of Best Picture, and that is going to be quite a long one, I'd imagine, for various reasons. So yeah, join us next week for that. Who have you been, Michael?
I've been Michael.
I've been Luke, and yeah, we're going to be predicting the Best Picture winners next time as well. That's what that means.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, good.
So yeah, look forward to that. And thanks for listening, and see you next time. Goodbye.
Goodbye.